Kelvin, not Kevin, and that's something that's really important to me that you guys live here in LA. I would rather you not laugh at my jokes or vote for me, but just know that I'm Kelvin and not Kevin. Because that's a battle I've been fighting my whole life. And I don't know if it's because like Kelvin is a name you would typically associate with cool people or successful people or black people, but the thing is like, I mean, because you got Kelvin Johnson, Kelvin Harris, you got Kelvin Klein, and like even Kelvin and Hobbs, you know, Kelvin from Kelvin and Hobbs, he was a bad boy with an imaginary tiger friend. I mean, my imaginary friends were more white kids who made fun of my voice and my wiener. So, it's been a really tough year for my family. My wife has a broken jaw, and that's one of those injuries that, like, okay, I can feel the tension. I'll address this. I did not break her jaw. I know better than to hit a woman who could beat me up. So trust me, she's a nurse, and the thing is, like, jaw injuries and how nurses get treated, like, you don't really know about them unless you experience it. Nurses are so mistreated, they're underpaid, they're disrespected, the doctors are mean to them, the patients are mean to them, the janitors are mean to them. It's a crazy order in the hospital. So honestly, guys, if you know a nurse, like, be a good citizen and just go down on them. They deserve it. I promise you, there's nobody in the world who deserves a surprise oral more than a nurse. They are the best people on the planet, and they're just so mistreated. So please, put that in there with Calvin and not Kevin. Like, something I want you to take with you. I'm from Grand Rapids. I love Grand Rapids. I'm proud to be from Grand Rapids. I said that a few weeks ago at a show, and like some boy in the audience like scoffed at me, and like I get it, it's cool to like hate your hometown, but like you have to understand, like I lived in North Dakota for a few years, and like you really learn what a crappy town is when you live in North Dakota. And I saw a lot of really terrible, wild things when I was in North Dakota. And whenever I say that, people are always like, did you see people die? And it's like, no, but one time I saw a deer fucking a horse. It was the craziest thing. Yeah, that's as bad as seeing someone die, right? It was a big, like, Budweiser horse. And like a little, just left home deer. Like he didn't even have antlers yet. And the horse had a penis, so I don't know if it was like a gay thing or like an interspecies thing or like a desperation thing, because like that was going on a lot in North Dakota. But North Dakota had a really bad zoo, and like I'm a guy who loves the zoo. I don't think zoos are like animal prisons, because let's break that down for a second. Like, prison and zoos are so different. Like, if you offered any prisoner any zoo exhibit as his home, he would gladly take it. He'd be like, there's a pool and a pooping and a peeing corner. Like, this is awesome. Like, you know, and like dietitians, like the dietitians at the zoos, like they specifically make meals for each individual animal. And that's not how mealtime works at prison. Also, when you go to the zoo, there's not that vibe of like, oh, a lot of sodomy happens here. I love Grand Rapids, but let's be honest, our zoo had a prison moment. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Jahari, my boy, Jay, as I like to call him, the pygmy hippo at the zoo. If you don't know what pygmy means, it just means like smaller, less intimidating, littler, weaker hippo. So like, if you're confused, like think of me as like a pygmy man. Like, and this is something I want the zoo to get a hold of and like run with. Like I want to do ads like Kelvin and Jahari cruising around the city, picking up chicks. I don't know, whatever a boy and a hippo would do. But yeah, Jahari, he killed his cellmate like on day one. And but here's the thing, like we shouldn't judge because we don't know, like maybe it was was a deer, by the way. It wasn't another hippo. It was like this deer that was in there. Maybe that deer had molested some baby hippos at another zoo. We don't know. And maybe it was zoo justice. Like, we don't know, and it's not fair to blame him for it. And it's not fair to blame the zoo either. That's a good zoo. When I lived in North Dakota, you could get there early enough to see them catching seagulls in the parking lot and painting them black for penguins. So I don't want to hear any slander about John Ball Zoo. I love Grand Rapids, but I think it's really unfair that our city's favorite son is such a wet fart. And, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's Gerald R. Ford. Look, I tried really hard to make him a hero. Like, I took my daughters to the museum, and the whole way there I was like, girls, this guy's from Grand Rapids. When he was born here, he was president and vice president. He's got that strong Ford name that he was associated with Michigan. None of that stuff is really true. He was born in Nebraska. Gross. He was president and vice president, but he is the only human in the history of the entire world. He stands alone as the only person not elected to either one of those positions. So I'm sorry, but that's kind of the hand job of being president. The other thing about him is his name is not Gerald R. Ford. It's not any of those. All three are made up. Gerald R. and Ford, he made up. His real name is Leslie Lynch King. What kind of slave trader tobacco kingpin name is that? Like, what? This is like when Jebediah Simpson or Jebediah Springfield on The Simpsons, like, had changed his name. Like, guys, we've been duped. And the other sidebar, the R in his name is for Rudolph. So he made up, I just want to think about him sitting at the table like, Betty, I'm going with Rudolph. Cherry, please. Can we pick something else? Like, what, why do you pick something stupid like Donner or Blitzen? Why does it have to be a reindeer, Cherry? Alright guys, I'm getting the light. I want to leave you on one more thing. I'm excited about the Trump Museum. I'm not saying it's going to be historically accurate or it's going to be politically correct, but God, it's going to be cool. You know it will be fun. There'll be a floor dedicated to Kanye West. There'll be a velvet painting of Steve Bannon and Batman beating up Rosie O'Donnell. There'll be a water slide for no reason at all, just this awesome water slide, and then you'll be like, hey, where's the pool? And there'll be a sign saying, like, it's coming, Mexico hasn't paid for it yet, though. All right, guys, I'm Kelvin, not Kevin. Blow your noses, please.
All right. Give it up for Brian, thank you. My name is, or don't, whatever. My name is Larry. It's kind of a good name for a middle-aged guy. Weird name for a baby, though. Like when I was born, my parents looked at me and thought, Larry. Perfect. That's the name. No, I was actually named after my biological father, which he's actually just my dad. It just makes me sound more interesting. Call him my biological father. You guys can do that too. It's like my house, my primary residence. Call a watch a timepiece. I chose this timepiece today. It makes you sound interesting. Think about that. Anyway, I was driving up here today. Saw one of those signs. I'm always looking for these signs. You guys have probably seen them. It says, "We buy houses, any condition," usually on a telephone pole at a highway exit. Is that working? Is anyone driving up to one of those signs and thinking to themselves, you know what? Today's the day. Today's the day I sell my house to the guy with a handwritten sign on the telephone pole. If there's anything I can say with absolute certainty, that guy is not sharpening knives in his mom's basement right now. Definitely give that guy a call if you want to sell your house. I don't know, I work in marketing when I'm not making a living off of performing for free. And so I notice signs a lot. I was traveling in the airport recently and I saw that on all the bathroom signs in the airport, they have a little bit of braille on the sign. Men's bathroom, women's bathroom. I'm assuming the braille underneath that says the same thing. But it got me wondering, like, how are they finding that sign? You know, are they just walking through the airport, dragging their hand along the wall, hoping to God they come across a little 2-inch section of braille? I don't know if you guys have been in an airport, it's like 200,000 square feet. I don't think they're gonna find that. I don't know. I think that's what, I mean, most airports have like really smooth walls. I think that's why. You don't want to use stucco walls in a bathroom. The blind guy thinks he found the bathroom, he's like pissing in a plant. But you know, we're really like inconsistent about how we help people with these types of disabilities. And I think it's great. I think as a society we should all pitch in and do things and have braille signs and things like that, make their lives as easy as we possibly can. But we're not super consistent about it. I was at a play recently, and I noticed up at the front of the stage they had someone doing sign language, so for people who are deaf. And I thought, well, that's nice, they can understand the dialogue, they know what's going on, but they're not doing anything for the blind people. They don't have someone sitting next to them, like, explaining what's happening in the play. Like, there's a lady in a pink dress walking in. Do you know what pink is? There's a lady in a dress. You know what? She's walking across stage. You know what a dress is, right? All right. We can do that. But we do different things, like we let, blind people, if they want to see what we look like, they can come up and touch your face. You see that in TV shows quite a bit, touch your face. But we don't let deaf people do that. They can't like come up and stick their fingers down your throat to feel what you sound like, That's just kind of a blind thing. I do think it's good that we do a lot to help out people with different disabilities, different diseases. You see a lot of awareness for people with cancer, diabetes, you name it. But one condition that really gets no attention at all is hemorrhoids. Like we suffer in silence. Just a quick show of hands, any hemorrhoid sufferers in the room here? See, that's what I'm talking about. We suffer in silence. If your hemorrhoids get to the point where you have to shove them back up in there, I promise you, Preparation H is no longer doing anything for you. Like if your eyeball pops out of its socket, you wouldn't just rub some Vaseline on it? Be like, it's fine, let it go back in. No, you gotta go see a doctor. I mean, all Preparation H is anyway is just extra spicy butthole Vaseline, alright? It's not a miracle cure. You go see a doctor, you go see Dr. Chen. That's what I went and saw anyway. I tried to get Dr. Chen in on some of my ideas for hemorrhoid awareness, hey, we should put together a hemorrhoid 5K, run for the cure. All hemorrhoid sufferers only make it a quarter of a mile. It's just squeezing their ass in, wearing a brown ribbon on your shirt for the hemorrhoid cure. It must be tough to be a hemorrhoid doctor though. Your patients are not excited to see you out in public. If you're a pediatrician, OBGYN, everyone's all excited. They're like, oh yeah, this is the doctor that delivered my baby, this is my kid's pediatrician. But if you're out at the store with one of your buddies and you're like, oh hey, Dr. Chen. And your buddy's like, how do you know that guy? You're like, I don't know that guy. What are you talking about? He's like, you just called him Dr. Chen. You're like, I didn't say it. I do feel bad for them. Anyway, folks, you only got one butthole. You gotta take care of it. That's the key message you gotta walk away with here tonight. Take care of your butthole. I notice a lot of millennials are complaining about the price of housing. Housing's gotten pretty expensive. And I think what they need to do is get off their lazy ass and go gentrify a poor neighborhood like your grandparents did. All right? There are endless neighborhoods of horrible houses, and you'd think it'd be difficult to gentrify a whole neighborhood. It's actually not. All you gotta do is get yourself some orange signs and a fat magic marker and just write, we buy houses, any condition, stick it on some fucking telephone poles and just wait for the phone to ring. Alright, I'm Larry. So I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you.
Actively intimidated by the mic stand. I watched everybody fiddle around with it, and I just all picked myself up. I'm not going to be able to figure that out. It's not going to work. Something I can't stop thinking about after the first comic talked about there's going to be a Trump museum. There's also going to be a Trump library. What the fuck is going to be in that? Can you imagine taking the fam to the Trump library? Oh, God. No, here's the thing. Everything in our society right now is completely fucked up. And I totally get it. Listen, I know I kind of look like I'm a Trump voting guy. I didn't vote for him. But I get it. I went to Five Guys a little bit earlier on today, and the burger chain. And when I ordered, I was like, I'm gonna have, please, a cheeseburger, and then I ordered another one, because I'm kind of secretly a fat guy. And then my girlfriend got the junior cheeseburger, which is, I'm pretty sure just the exact same fucking thing, but it's named the junior cheeseburger so that girls will eat it. And then I got one Diet Coke, and they're like, your total will be $75.49. And I'm not saying that I'm going to vote for Trump after that, but you get it, right? I mean, at this point, because I mean, it's not going to get less crazy. That's not the most ridiculous amount of money that I've ever spent. I actually did recently spend the most ridiculous amount of money I've ever spent on anything. Did you guys know that if you have a pet and your pet consumes something poisonous, that instead of taking the pet to the veterinarian or to the emergency room for animals or whatever the fuck it's called, you have to call pet poison control? That's a real thing. Well, I know that pet poison control is a real thing because I had the surreal experience of watching one of my two cats eat an Adderall off the counter the other day. I really want you to put yourself in my shoes in that moment. Really stop and imagine it. Actually picture it in your mind. You're watching a cat munch an Adderall, and you're thinking to yourself, maybe the Unabomber was right, and this is all something we need to wind back. Anyway, it cost me $1,800 for them to basically say, it's fine, cats can eat Adderall, it's okay. No, I'm a guy in my 30s with cats, and that's tough. That's a tough thing. I did have a moment, to be honest with you, the reason I have cats is because I have a daughter. My daughter loves cats. And that was the only thing. Because there was a moment, as the Adderall was going down the cat's throat, where I did think to myself, maybe I'll just wait and see how this plays out. I don't know, I mean, if the cat gets really good at math all of a sudden, I guess I'll fucking know that my eyes are not deceiving me. But I did, I had that moment where I was like, maybe I just let this ride. I don't know. But ultimately, I didn't want to devastate my daughter, and that's how you spend $1,800 on animal poison control. So between that and the burgers, I'm looking to sell my house. Maybe I'll use one of those signs. So I just went through a period where I was doing a lot of online dating. And when you're a guy that has cats, you want to conceal that as late as possible in the process. But women, you guys date completely differently from men and how we date. And that's just empirically true. I don't need to dispute this. And I think it all comes back to the essential feature of, at the end of the day, it is much harder for me as a man to have sex. Even imagine it isn't me, but just any man. Much harder for a man to have sex than it is for a woman to have sex. If you are a woman and you want to get laid, here are some steps you may want to consider. I have heard that. Maybe you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to put on some pretty makeup, and I will, I don't know, like put on, I guess, a good dress or yoga pants. I don't fucking know what's going on. You guys make the decision however you wish. And you smile a lot, and you pretend that you think that the guy is funny, and then you're going to get laid. If you're a man and you want to get laid, you go through a lot of different strategies. things. Like you could invent a molecule to cure a disease, or you could make an NFL team, or you could do a lot of things. Because I mean, that's all. The only reason any of that shit exists, right, is that somebody at the end of the day was like, I got looked over in high school a lot, and I decided I really want to get revenge on everybody. And that's the way that most billionaires are invented, I think. You can tell that from the way that Jeff Bezos looks now. And the women that Jeff Bezos is dating now. Because that looks like a guy who I would have thought had an awesome life when I was 12. Yeah, dating is a surreal experience. You know, one of the first things you try to do anytime you ever get together with anybody, you know, when you're on a first date, you gotta find a way to break the ice because it's gonna be awkward. There's just no two ways around it. It's gonna be awkward. It has to be. It's almost like by its nature of the thing. One of the things I usually like to ask is I like to ask a little warm-up question. I like to say, hey, what's the worst first date that you've ever been on? And I pray that they don't say this right now. So far, I haven't had that response. What I have had, and what I do understand though, is I think the reason that men think women are crazy is because we make them crazy. Because if you ask any, I didn't need that much support. That was kind of wild, to be honest. Trump's definitely going to win. No, the reason I think that, you know, when you ask somebody, when you ask a woman, what's the worst first date you've ever been on? You will hear sometimes the most horrifying story you can possibly imagine. Like, yeah, it was really weird. Like, you know, he said he was going to pick me up, and he showed up, and it was a van, and two guys tried to get me, and I ran away from him, and I broke a heel. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And you're like, what happened then? We dated for like 4 or 5 years. But what's equally funny is then you ask, and you're like, well, obviously, I mean, she's still not dating now because she's not dating the person anymore because she's out with me, or at least I pray that that's the case because I don't want to find what happens to get on the wrong side of that guy. But then you're like, hey, how did the relationship end? Like, why did you guys decide that you didn't want to stay together? And she'd be like, I just didn't like the way we communicated. You think to yourself, it's not the abduction thing? That wasn't where that went wrong for you? It's like, but then ultimately it was the fact that you really couldn't connect over Grey's Anatomy. That was the problem at the end of the day. Anytime anybody ever finds out that I have cats, because I can only conceal that for so long, they always ask me the same question. And they ask me the question about whether or not I declawed my cats. And if you want a woman to be mad at you, say that you did declaw your cats, because of course I fucking did, because I like my couch. Anyway, though, I get this diatribe about it every single time, and I do understand it because they're like, they actually take off the tip of the finger. Did you know that? It's actually the tip of their finger. Can you imagine that happening? And I always say, yeah, I can, because I'm circumcised. And lady, that's the most important finger. All right, thank you guys. I'm Andrew. Say hello. Good night.
I'm a two-time cancer survivor. Yeah. No, it's fine. No, don't do it now. You're hesitating. Clearly, you people root for cancer. And, I don't know. I don't live out. Where are we? Iron Center? Wyoming? In Alger Heights, where I live, people don't like cancer. So if you say you beat it, that's like a good thing, right? People will clap. You people don't give a shit, apparently. So I don't know if it's the dark room or just the neighborhoods over here. You gotta lock your cars or what the deal is. But I beat it twice, and that's why I gotta wear this sleeve. I've had lymph nodes removed under each arm. I've had stage 3 melanoma a few times. I had some lymph nodes that had cancer in them. So now I gotta wear these sleeves because I got lymphedema. My arm gets real fat because the lymph nodes are gone. And I buy these sleeves from a website called lymphdudes.com. Seriously, look it up. It's a real website. Lymph Dudes. PH.
lymph. Don't get the wrong idea, ladies. Actually, I had to buy a second sleeve to put right on the hog, so to keep it from getting hard. But yeah, you guys are mostly white, so wear sunblock and go to a dermatologist. If you got some weird shit on your skin, if it's on your balls, that's a different doctor. You definitely want to get it looked at. It's nothing to fuck around with. It's different now though that I've had to think about my own mortality a lot more than you should before you're 40, which changes your perspective on life, especially as a father. Just because I always thought if I wasn't around for my son, it'd be because I packed myself up and left in the middle of the night. You know? I wanted to be a deadbeat dad, not a dead dad, you know? No, too much for you guys? I thought you guys rooted for cancer at the beginning. Now we're against it because my kid? It's different doing comedy too once you've had cancer a few times, just because I meet a lot of people who can relate, unfortunately, and I bond with a lot of strangers over it. I did a show in Elk Rapids, Michigan, over the winter, and a woman approached me after the show, and she told me she was a breast cancer survivor. Her name was Ruth, and she said she thought I was very funny. She said she kept reiterating, "You are so funny." And she said, "If you ever bring up cancer in front of an audience and they don't clap immediately, those are bad people." But she said she thought it was cool I could talk about cancer and make it funny, and we really bonded. We talked for 2 or 3 hours, and it's moments like that, it's situations like that. I think that's what I'm getting to is I think that's why I still do this, you guys. Is the one night stands. Of course I had sex with that woman in Elk Rapids, Michigan. My wife and I can't bond on that level. She's never had cancer. She almost wants me to sleep with these other cancer survivors. She doesn't give a shit about Ruth, the breast cancer survivor in Elk Rapids, Michigan. She didn't care about Ken, the colon cancer survivor in Iowa. The colon cancer's gone. I know, I checked. She didn't care about Susan, my friend's mother down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She's not even a cancer survivor, but she's 79. She's a survivor.